Okay. So, greetings everyone to this week's session. We've had a huge week and more to come. So, many of you would have gone through quite a leap over the weekend when a timeline shift occurred during that geomagnetic storm. And that was actually predicted to happen. And it was actually right on time as far as what was predicted for this particular massive solar flare activity. And these flares, as we know, well, firstly, they come through our Earth sun, but they're actually from the greater central sun. So they're big frequency waves that come through. And, you know, the heat and everything else that comes with them is like just burning off anything old and, you know, activating a whole heap of stuff within it. But these flares can wreak havoc on our physical bodies, and that is due to the high frequencies that come through and then we're trying to embody. And they can cause a heap of symptoms. So some of these symptoms you may have experienced over the past few days, and they could range from the night sweats, nausea in the stomach. That was very strong for me on Sunday. Insomnia, or just sort of skim sleeping, but then awake, and then skim sleeping and then awake, and then, you know, another hot flush. And I personally experienced a lot of insomnia since last Friday evening, along with those night sweats. That didn't happen last night though. These flares may also present as symptoms of, because they're electrical, it can present as symptoms of arthritic pain in your body. Teeth gritting, because we're getting these big downloads of electrical type energy. And also a few people, or someone mentioned to me about a white coating on the tongue, and when I checked, at the peak of all that, I also had a white coating on the tongue. And it's not a matter of having, it's not thrush or anything like that. It's actually something to do with how we receive and integrate. Because when I checked with a few different people, they also checked and they had that. Now, I don't have it now, but I don't have the other symptoms either. So, you know, we've gone through that part of it. And the other thing definitely includes a feeling of mild up to intense sort of agitation, restlessness, and even being overly emotional maybe. And, you know, we could go on and on and on, but I'm sure you get the general idea. And this was really, as I said before, in sharp contrast to all those days of bliss that we experienced earlier in the week. We went from one state to another in kind of what felt like a split second. It was bizarre, really. So timeline shift points, which this was, a strategic generation points for us to shift our realities to the new earth or new higher experience. And I think Richard shared earlier something that will begin to happen more and more, where he just kind of merges with this higher dimension and almost becomes invisible, you know. Gradually these big shifts transfer both our personal and our collective experiences and our energetic experiences into the real peak Christed timelines. And, you know, we do this by conscious choice and by becoming a vibrational match to the higher timelines. And we're given a big boost with these solar flares and things that are going on. It's kind of by a type of quantum effect, really, and directly related to the massive waves coming from the great central sun to the central sun to our sun, you know, or, you know, just those big waves of source energy. And this one over the weekend, it was a whopper, and it does hold the potential to awaken a lot of people on the planet. And the other thing is, for those that aren't aware, the central sun in our solar system is Alcyon, which we journeyed to last week. And it's the brightest star in the Palladian system, and our solar system actually rotates around it in a cycle of approximately 26,000 years. And we're coming to the end of this cycle now as we merge through to the galactic center. And so this is really, you know, this point in time where the Earth is moving through into the galactic center. You know, this is the time of awakening, and we're getting a lot of assistance. We just need to remember to ask for it. As Kath said before, you know, she was struggling at night, particularly with the symptoms of the solar flares, but then she asked, and they're going, well, you know, you should have just asked before. Well, we forget, don't we? In our humbleness, or, you know, whatever it is, we forget to say, excuse me, can you just tone that down a little bit just so I can get some sleep and be, you know, semi-human tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, so we're coming to the end of that cycle now. That's the greater central sun. The central sun revolves around the greater central sun. And as our solar system moves through the galactic center, it then aligns us with the central sun and the greater central sun. So we become the sun of our true self, or the sons of God source. So they're actually suns, as in solar, not sons as in boy child, although it's kind of both. At the moment, we're in the process where the lower and higher vibrations on the planet are kind of dividing or splitting, and eventually these vibrational bandwidths won't even be able to see each other. They will be a mismatch or too far apart in frequency, and this is comparable to us as our vibrational frequency rises, and we're able to, or at least a beginning for some of you that aren't already up to that, to see more starships and more of our galactic brothers and sisters, which we were previously not at a vibrational match to see. So even though they were there, we were previously not a vibrational match with them, and thus were unable to perceive them. And it appears, and in some cases it is actual, that there's a lot more sightings and everything now. It's because more people are becoming a vibrational match to actually see them. But it's also a case of, yeah, they've called in a few extra at the moment. And really to do still with that, in fact, there are still many of our higher vibrational galactic families who at this point struggle to present here because they are vibrating at such a fast rate that it's very difficult to slow down their vibration enough to present here at this point in time. And so they may only present as an orb or something like that, because, or as a feeling, or as a download of information. And that kind of leads me back to the solar flare symptoms again, in that the agitation we might experience during these flares is actually our cells being vibrated or agitated at a much faster rate than we're used to. This is a process of stepping up gradually into higher and higher frequencies or vibrational rates ourselves. And this will continue until we have more and more of the episodes where we are like not really there, we become not solid, we go more towards it being invisible to the dimension that we exist in at the moment. And the faster we vibrate on a cellular level, the less dense we become, is what I'm trying to say. The more light we hold. And we begin to experience what would be termed by the scientific society as miraculous states. And we're all beginning to experience those, just as Richard shared earlier about his miraculous states he's experiencing. And as always, you know, it is a case of grounding and breaking through it, which I know is easier said than done when we're getting these massive downloads and massive waves of energy that's, you know, creating a bit of chaos in our physical body. But if you see it as the blessing, which it actually is, you know, see it as the blessing, which it actually is, because look at what it's enabling us to remember and to achieve and to experience. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. So when the symptoms are really intense, I'm feeling it, and I'm getting agitated or whatever, I always like remember these words that were told to me once. I think it was a Buddhist monk actually. He said, stop and drop. When things get too intense for you on a physical level, in other words, be still. Ground yourself. Breathe deeply and slowly and drop into your heart center. Stop and drop. Breathe gratitude through the difficult symptoms. It will be embodied in a smoother, faster way if you can manage the stop and drop. I mean, obviously, sometimes when we're getting these massive downloads, we're not in a position where we can just stop and close our eyes and drop down into the heart. And but whenever we can, even if it's only for a few minutes, it's not going to stop all the symptoms. That's impossible, because we're going through a physical evolution here as much as a spiritual evolution. But it will certainly allow the embodiment to be smoothed out a little bit. It'll take off the rougher edges. And, you know, of course, actually knowing what's going on helps, because it takes away that fear element completely. You know, when it first started, you know, after me having these days of bliss, I definitely went into a bit of fear. I was actually wondering if I was under psychic attack in the beginning, because even though I was anticipating the flares, my symptoms came on before the solar flare energies actually were meant to have hit the planet. And so in that, it is good to remember, or you know, to remind us all that we are electrical, you know, electrically energetic creatures, and we are powered by the sun anyway. We're essentially, you know, magnificent sort of solar panels, really. And this recent influx will probably take us into a bit of a disorientation and through yet another adjustment phase. And that's okay, because really by now we're becoming so used to that. It's almost like, here we go again. Not almost, it is actually, here we go again. Anyway, really, we're just being asked to surrender to all this, trusting the process and our abilities to handle it. And we do, and we are, and we have. You know, we're all here today, come out the other side of it. And, you know, we're probably not the same people who went into it late last week. And, you know, and this isn't always possible either, rest and be kind to ourselves. Oh, and drink plenty of high frequency water. Because especially with the solar flares, not so much with the massive spikes in the Schumann resonance, but especially with the solar flares, because it's heating us up and coming through as like a fire thing, we do become dehydrated. And water also is that conductor of that electrical energy or those frequencies that are coming in. So we do really need to keep very well hydrated. That's the other trick. Okay, so something else I was going to, everyone's ascension experience is based on free will choice. As we make the decision to personally align our own reality to the vibration of those higher dimensions or timelines. And we've all done this a long time ago. So the process is just ongoing for us. It's definitely not, as some believe, a collective fix-it situation. And it is a process. So it's that layering of it. Not an all-at-once event, because we'd explode. Our physical bodies would explode because it just couldn't possibly hold that much light. And the reason for this is obvious, because even the smaller waves affect us big time physically. And the massive waves will really at times knock us around, which it was a massive wave over that period, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into yesterday, although it did clear yesterday. Anyway, the much talked about and very anticipated event it's now. We're in it. This is it. And it grows more intense as the etheric shift becomes physicalized and embodied by the way showers, which is you. You are that. But what that does is, yes, we volunteered to tough out and push through those barriers so that the others that will follow will have an easier time of it. But we volunteered for that. That's so courageous. That's so noble, you know. And we forget to pat ourselves on the back. And although I did remember yesterday, once it all kind of settled and I was feeling a bit more smoothed out with it, different, I feel different, but I feel smoothed out with it. I've just gone, wow, well, that was a bit of a challenging 3 days, but we did it. We did it, and we're here, and we're sharing, and we're experiencing, and we're embodying, and we're doing for those that can't do it for themselves. And that goes out to everyone's lives that we touch. We don't have to say a thing. Our resonance touches their resonance and shifts something within their own vibrational fields. We are the start of, you know, the domino effect. Okay, so at this stage and every stage, your conscious participation in your own ascension process allows your higher levels or your higher dimensional selves to merge with you. And this embodiment of our higher selves, or those higher dimensions, exposes higher vibrational outcomes for us in our lives, which is usually in alignment with our what was our pre-existing or true divine original blueprint outcomes that we planned before it was all interfered with, as opposed to the distorted outcomes, that is, which we've had to push our way out of, awaken ourselves out of. And, you know, I'm talking to the converted here because you guys have all done it, but there are others that you'll need to teach that process to and share that process to when the time is right and they come to you for that information. And as I said, it's a process. And that's because our bodies and our awareness and our perceptions need to adapt to the crystalline structures, both within ourselves and without, like outside of ourselves. Each wave will add another layer to us, to receive, to embody, to integrate, and then it starts again. We receive, we embody, we integrate, we share. And so it goes on in this very cyclic way, but it's like, the sacred spirals. We begin in the middle, and every layer we spiral out another layer and out another layer and out another layer until we become the Stargate. We are already the Stargate, but we know ourselves as the Stargates. We remember ourselves as that, as we add all these layers. And for me personally, I see it as sacred geometry, but everyone will see it differently. And we're not meant to be the same here. We're meant to hold our own unique frequencies, and we're meant to have different gifts that we personally excel at, that we can then share with our soul tribe and with others around us. So, as everything continues to amp up, it is good to also note that, and all this comes with responsibility, that you will manifest what you focus on. So be very, very mindful of your words and your thoughts. Wherever possible, focus on unconditional love, because this then allows our experiences to become divine and very pure and transcendent, and brings us back into those, the much longed for states of bliss, which we all love when we're in those. And then those states of bliss will trigger the liquid light to amplify the crystalline light body further in taking us in its transmutation process. So, yes, as I said, with all this, there comes a responsibility. We need to be very mindful of our words and our thoughts. And if I think Brett gave me the example the other day of driving along and then having a thought, oh, I hope blah, blah, blah doesn't happen to the car. Well, he manifested it, and it manifests almost instantly. So instantly you become aware that you've had one of those thoughts. Just cancel it. Just go cancel, 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 and replace it with a thought that is more in alignment with unconditional love, and transmute it, cancel it. And yeah, that is part of that added responsibility that we now have. And I'm not saying the people that are asleep also are not going to have instant manifestation or instant karma. That certainly will be the case as well. But we've had the veils removed for us. So we're more than capable of taking responsibility for our creations now, because we've got all those concepts now for those. Yeah. So as the veils lifts, the world becomes a different place entirely. And they're those bliss states. And we have truly reached a turning point. Like, we're in it, and we're learning how to design and create while earthbound, and we're getting better at it every day. I certainly pat myself on the back for that. So choose reality consciously and carefully, because where we point our focus materializes or manifests a reality that mirrors our own thoughts, our own beliefs, and our intentions. both personally and globally, or collectively, however you want to term it. So, wow, I'm getting really put out of my body, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm probably raving now, making no sense. At this point in time, we're moving into a couple of years also of Saturn and Pluto alignment. And interestingly, Saturn represents the teacher and Pluto represents death and rebirth. So this is an alignment that will also really propel humanity into the next phase of the ascension. And it will be both powerful and uncomfortable, especially for those still invested in the 3D earth plane. So probably less uncomfortable for us guys, because really we've gone through that death of the old self, and we're going through the rebirthing process. So if you're feeling stressful during any of this, deep breath, deep breathe in, breathe yourself into the 0 point and identify the stress trigger for healing and for clearing. And this is also part of that self-responsibility and that being the creators. And we'll create amazing stuff when every time we find we're getting triggered, we can stop and tune into it and then transmute it or embody it, embrace it, because often it'll be those triggers when we dig in below it will often be a part of ourselves that's fractured off, that needs to be brought back to the whole. And we know it's like, and you think, oh, do I want to bring dark bits back? Well, what happens when you walk into a dark room? It's dark, you can't see anything. But then what happens when you turn the light on? The light is always more powerful. And when you shine that light on any elements of darkness, there is a great, particularly now we're becoming so powerful, things instantly change. That instant of flicking that light switch onto that dark room, immediately it was illuminated. It came up to the level that we're at, or higher, maybe, who knows. So yeah, identify the stress trigger and take that opportunity to ascend into even higher dimensional realities. And believe me, and I know I'm preaching to the converted here, there's no limits on the levels we can reach. There are an infinite amount, and this infinite amount is increasing moment by moment. As we expand our inner universe, the outer universe is expanding as well. It's expanding at a rapid pace, just as we are. And we're that expansion. We're that expansion. That's how connected in such minute and beautiful and harmonic ways we are with all that is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting really hot now and I'm just way off my face. Sorry. I did have a couple more things I wanted to say. So, yeah, I was talking about identifying stress triggers and use it as an opportunity to transcend. And this is where we step into our creative beingness and place our focus on the world view that we want to live in and take positive action to interact with it on a daily basis. We create the vision of what it is we want. If we're just focused on what we see out there, we're creating more of that. Spend that time when you go within during the day and work really hard at visualizing how you want it to be. be the creators. And look, the possibilities are truly endless then. You know, if we're all creating from a place of higher dimensional thoughts and creations, imagine the harmony. Imagine the harmonic, symphonic creation of the planet we can make. Awesome. It excites me. So just before we finish, this coming week holds the possibilities of further big change and transformation for all of us. It may manifest in different ways for each of us. And as always, it's up to you how the week and energy unfolds individually, because how you receive and work with the energies matters, obviously. If you are ready and willing and able to take and can take action on working with the energies, then wow, I'm feeling by the time this next week, we could be a whole different person with a whole different outlook, perspective, and holding a completely different vibration. And interesting enough, next week is when, you know, that the next event, it's very close to that next event that's happening. That'll be the October one. So anyway, choose well, daring, valiant, courageous beings of light, way showers that you are. Choose well. September was, you know, a really profound time. It was abundant with insights, revelations, and bountiful when it came to healing. Actually, probably way more healing than we would have preferred, but definitely transformative. And now we're in the October energies, and I feel that October will be a great time to make even faster progress towards whatever it is you're trying to create, as far as even a new platform to move into the future, you know. And this can be a new financial platform or a new ability that you're having the courage to share. It feels to me to hold the seed of a much deeper awareness for our divine connection. That's what I feel like is going to be emerging, and I feel it's directly linked to this big, huge solar wave we've just managed to get ourselves through. So in that, things like more real encounters with the other side, with your guides, with the celestials and our protectors, the ancestors are definitely reaching out to us. And there's also the connection to us from the animal kingdom, especially with bird signs. And I was having this discussion with Robin today. They're significant. And this is quite shamanic, or as I said, ancestral, and it's becoming more natural and much more commonplace as everything amps up. And you probably have all begun to notice all those signs, or, you know, quite a few of them. And this is is of course, it's incredibly comforting for me and truly amazing. And it's just incredible how fast things can fall into place and tie together as more and more of the puzzle pieces fly in and reveal more and more of the bigger picture. It's exhilarating. And this is all happening right here, right now. Things are starting to tie together in a magical and very synchronistic fashion. And the actual reason for this is because we are doing a phenomenal job with the ascension process. Really, I can't emphasize that enough. We're being asked to really begin stepping out of the wings now, letting our light shine. And this is actually an empowering way to serve the planet. And you guys are doing it. We each have a responsibility to contribute to our community. And we do this when we let ourselves be seen, when we share our truths, our insights, and our experiences, no matter how way out they might seem. When we shine our light out into the world, we bless those around us by sharing our gifts. And then we get to watch the universe glow and grow. How cool is that? I love it. We're just so blessed. We exist in a blessed time. Okay, I'm going to